Whenever things start to feel intimate, then we start to distance ourselves. In my head. Does this sound familiar to you? Every time you get into a relationship with somebody, it's like they just won't leave you alone. You want time to yourself, you want space to yourself, and you do want to be in a relationship, you want to be around this person, but it feels like they're always encroaching on you, like they're always engulfing you, like they're always too involved in your life. If that sounds like you, this is a possibility that you're experiencing dismissive avoidant attachment. Our attachment style is the basic way that we bond to people. So it doesn't have to be a lover, it could be a friend, it could be relatives, is probably where it started with your parents or your guardians. Anybody, the way that we typically go to somebody and try to bond with them is our attachment style. So let's talk about how it forms in childhood, because that's where it starts. So in childhood, we are vulnerable to the world and we rely on our parents to get our needs met. And so we do that as a baby by communicating, by screaming, yelling, waving our hands around and trying to get their attention. Now what we're aiming for in a parent-child bond or a guardian-child bond is a secure attachment, and that's when they generally meet our needs. They don't have to get it perfect, they don't have to always meet our needs, but they're generally giving us food and water and the things that we need when we need them, and they're listening to us when we communicate that we need them. Unfortunately, some parents are not always so good at listening to their own emotions and their own inner experience, and so they have a hard time listening to a baby's inner experience, and this is where they may make a mistake and we might wind up with an insecure attachment like dismissive avoidant attachment. Now yesterday I talked about preoccupied anxious attachment and how that forms, but we're talking about dismissive avoidant today. So dismissive avoidant attachment forms when your caregiver or your guardian, they generally do not meet your needs. They're just not listening. It really doesn't matter what you do. And typically the pattern that we see happening is they hear you, or maybe they don't hear you. Maybe they don't even hear you crying out. They don't see you waving your hands. But even if they do, they don't do anything about it. So what you learn as a baby to try to survive, because you have to survive, you have to get your needs met, is you learn to not cry out and you learn to not express what's going on inside and not express your emotions, because you realize your needs will get met if you don't cry out. Because sometimes a baby's crying throws some parents and guardians like off, and they can't handle it, and they start to maybe like attack the baby or see the baby as a problem. And the baby knows this. The baby realizes, I'm not getting food when I do this. I'm not getting the things that I need. I'm not getting my diaper changed. So the baby tries to adapt as best they can, and they try to survive. And they do this by turning away from the parent, not being close to the parent, not getting intimate with the parent, because to do so is actually dangerous. To do so means that they're not going to get the things that they need. So this is our first and our longest relationship for the beginning of our lives, and this becomes the model for how we relate to other people. And then we'll seek out other people in life and we'll relate to them the same way. So whenever we get close to somebody, whenever things start to feel intimate, then we start to distance ourselves from them. It doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel okay. This is why it's called a dismissive avoidant attachment, because you're dismissing somebody else's emotional needs because your emotional needs weren't met, and then you avoid that person because it doesn't feel safe to be around that person. It feels like they're encroaching on you, they're engulfing you. And on that same thought of them encroaching on you, engulfing you, sometimes, we think of like neglect. This is what we're kind of talking about here, is neglect. We think of neglect as people not giving us what we need, not giving us what we want, but it could be that a parent actually does react to our cries and our screaming and yelling, but they're still not giving us the things that we need. They're not paying attention. Especially as a child gets older, we start to see this where a child is crying, they're hungry, and the mom is telling them, it's okay, you're fine, you're not hungry, and then they give the child like a video game to play with or something. So they're listening. It seems like they're listening, but they're not actually listening. They don't actually care what the child's experience is and what the child needs. So this is where it becomes engulfing, because they do have an intimate relationship. They do get close to the child, but they are deciding what the child needs. They're deciding for the child what their emotional experience is, and this is a mistake. So this is why later in life you have trouble working on team projects and being around people. You may like to socialize, you may like to be with people, but you like to keep everything on a surface level. You don't like to talk about emotions, you don't feel comfortable opening up to people, you never want to show that you're vulnerable, and generally you would rather just be on your own, individual, doing your own thing. But here's the deal. When you live that way, when you don't give acknowledgement to your human emotions, they're still there. They're still in your body. You still have a neurological, emotional system that's operating your body and deciding how you do things. This is why you avoid in the first place, because it feels uncomfortable, because the emotion's actually there. So if you're not acknowledging that emotion is running your life. And the sad thing is that you're not experiencing a true, intimate, vulnerable, real relationship with somebody and a true, intimate, vulnerable, real way of living in life. You're not living your full emotional human experience, and I may not be able to convey to you why that's a problem here in this video, but understand that life is so much more bleak and not as fun, not as exciting, not as fulfilling as it could be if you were feeling all of these emotions. All right, so what do we do about this? Because how do you solve a problem where you need to get closer to people, you need to become more intimate and vulnerable with people, but that doesn't feel safe? It's like they're total opposites. Well, it makes sense that you would feel that way. You might actually be experiencing some PTSD symptoms, because sometimes this is called an attachment trauma. And so the trauma of not having your needs met, of not being able to survive the way that you should have been able to survive, can live with you, and you may re-experience it each time you have a relationship with somebody. This is why what I always recommend is to go in and see a therapist who understands trauma, who understands attachment issues, maybe someone who understands personality disorders, because these patterns that we live, they can manifest in a personality disorder. So what you really want here is somebody that you can feel safe with, and a therapist is going to know how to make you feel safe. There's somebody that you only have to meet for a short period of time. It's a time that you plan out, you choose that time, and you get to leave when you want. So it's the perfect relationship for somebody like you, because you can avoid when you feel like you need to. And a therapist is somebody who's going to understand. You'll be able to open up to them. They're going to understand if you're not going to want to open up right away. That's okay. A therapist is there to support you. A therapist is also going to be fine if you want to leave, if you want to take some time off of therapy. There's no pressure with a therapist. They're not trying to engulf you. They're not trying to take over your life. Outside of therapy, you can always read books and learn about this, watch YouTube videos. This is something I did to change my own attachment style. And I should say here, all of these things can be changed. Personality traits, personality disorders, attachment, everything can be changed. So don't feel like you're stuck this way forever. And actually, I should also mention, you may use different ways of attaching with different people. Even though this is your general attachment style, you may still have some people in your life who you feel secure around. You may have some people that you feel preoccupied and anxious around. So this is your general attachment style, but there may be other people you can use as resources to stay around who can help you to bend your attachment style and move more towards a secure one. So you'll want to look for those people who you feel comfortable opening up to, who you don't feel the pressure around, and try to spend more time with them, which is kind of the opposite of what I know you want to do. You want to avoid them, but if you know that this person generally makes you feel safe, step outside of your comfort zone just a little bit and try to spend a little bit more time with them. You don't have to jump right in. And if you can find this person that helps you to feel secure and start to internalize those feelings of security from them, you may be able to start to switch your attachment style from feeling like you need to dismiss people, avoid people, not talk about things, and start to get comfortable with opening up to this person. And maybe from there, you'll start to feel comfortable opening up to another person. If you want to learn more about your own mental health, head on over to youtube.com/RyanLiberty, hit subscribe. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. They make videos like this possible. If you want to become a patron and support me on my mission of humanizing mental health, head on over to Patreon. The link will be down below. And now this might actually be a really good opportunity for you. If you feel like you have dismissive avoidant attachment, I know it's uncomfortable to open up, but this is online. People don't really know who you are. Leave a comment down below. Let me know why you think you have this, how you feel, and we can all discuss it together and learn from each other. As always, thank you for being here with me. I'll see you around next time, everyone.